Okay, the Three Amigos, the leaders of Mexico, Canada, and the United States, as it's now called, are getting back together again on Thursday. But will President Joe Biden's protectionism cloud this first U.S.-Mexico-Canadian summit? First one since 2016. American president, of course, has signed this trillion-dollar infrastructure bill that his administration says will infuse money into highways, bridges, and ports across the country. But it does include provisions dedicated to what's called domestic procurement. And if Joe Biden is ready to build and buy American, where does that leave Canada? Remember, his budget plan earlier this year highlighted a Buy American provision for the auto sector. So just how friendly will this summit actually be? Joining me now is someone who will be at the summit. She's going to Washington tomorrow, the International Trade Minister, Mary Ng. Always a pleasure to have you on the program. Give me a sense how the federal government is going to fight maybe the most precise bit of protectionism, the new $12,500 U.S. tax credit for the purchase of U.S.-made electric vehicles by union shops. This could be devastating for the Canadian auto industry. How will the Prime Minister and how will you fight this?
Hi, Evan. It's really terrific to be here. I'm looking forward to going to Washington tomorrow with the Prime Minister and my colleagues. I think there are many things that we will be working on together. Top of mind, of course, is getting back, to recover from COVID-19 and making sure that we are advocating and working together for North American competitiveness and fighting climate change. And to your question about, the Americans' framework around electric vehicles, I've been on record to say that we are very disappointed that the framework doesn't recognize how integrated our supply chains are, particularly for automobiles. But I also want to remind you that it is just a framework and that work needs to proceed into the development of legislation. I'm going to certainly continue the work that I've already started. I will continue the advocacy, not only with the president, but also, the legislative work has to make its way through Congress. It has to go through Senate. I've already begun that advocacy work, and will continue to do that to ensure that Canadian interests I remind the Americans about the integration and the Canadian interests and what we do well together.
Right, but Joe Biden's low in the polls. His political capital is at an all-time low. You might have to play. Look, he's canceled the Keystone XL pipeline. He's not lifted a finger at all for the Line 5, where the governor of Michigan wants to cancel that. And now he's been, happy to let this $12,500 U.S. tax credit for U.S. made electric vehicle sale at least be pitched forward as part of the framework. Do you believe that tax credit violates U.S.-Canadian trade law and the new NAFTA agreement?
Well, I certainly expect the Americans to meet the requirements under the new NAFTA and under our trade agreements, and I am going to make sure that I am able to put those points clearly across, as I've already done. I also am doing this alongside Canadian, the Canadian industry and the Canadian representatives for labor. So we're going to keep doing this. But the trip in the next,
sorry, Minister, I'll let you make your point obviously in a second. But just to be clear, would that provision? I'm just trying to get clear. Would the tax credit violate U.S.-Canada trade law?
Well, what I think we need to do at this particular juncture is on the road from this framework towards legislation, be sure that we are advocating for Canadian interest, the integration of the supply chains, particularly in the auto sector, and particularly for electric vehicles, which is the auto sector of the future. And this is the work that I and my colleagues will do. But remember, tomorrow's trip is Canada, U.S., and Mexico. There are many things that we need to be working on together. We have certainly with the United States and Canada already a very robust roadmap. We need to work on some very big things like fighting climate change. We need to build back our economies and create those jobs that are inclusive jobs in our economies. We need to shore up and make sure that our supply chains are resilient here in North America and certainly globally. So there are many areas that we need to be working on together, strengthening our relationship and to keep doing that work as North America.
Okay, I get that. But I want to be specific because these meetings, it's been 5 years since this, and I know Mexico and Canada want this integrated North American market. I totally get that. But the U.S. president is not playing ball. He's all smiles on Twitter, and then he's all protectionism when it comes to policy. If this violates trade law, in your arsenal, is there a way to challenge this so the U.S. backs down? Like, we got to come with more than sugar. We got to come with sticks, too.
Well, let me put it this way. Canada expects a reciprocal trading agreement. We expect trade agreements to be honored. We do that. We certainly expect our trading partners to be doing that. I think that at this particular juncture, we need to keep doing that important work with our American partners. But we also need to do the other important work, which is getting on that road to North American competitiveness. We need to strengthen our relationship in a whole range of areas. And this is a really excellent opportunity for Canada, U.S., and Mexico to be doing this work, especially at this critical time as we are coming out of COVID-19 and finishing this fight, getting our economy back on track, creating good jobs, and getting our people back to work.
Yeah, and Minister, again, like the facts are, you got an auto manufacturer in Windsor, Ontario, like Stellantis. They've just cut a production shift. So the reality is things are going the wrong way on that. But just the other thing is Line 5. How will the Prime Minister and you fight for Line 5, which is the pipeline that obviously goes through the Straits of Mackinac in Lake Huron up there? I know Michigan wants it canceled. Will that be challenged?
Well, I mean, that work is, of course, right now in the courts where Canada has, has indicated that we want to see the treaty between the two countries applied here, to ensure their energy security, but also ours. But that issue along with a range of issues are going to be on the table for us to be working on. I mean, in a relationship as large as that of Canada and the U.S., of course, there are going to be issues, and we must work through those issues, but we must also look to what we can be doing to shore up North American competitiveness and making sure that we are building a green economy, that we are creating those jobs for our workers and for our businesses in all three countries. That is the work that is ahead of us. That's the work I'm looking forward to joining the Prime Minister and my ministerial colleagues tomorrow in Washington, working with Mexico, working with the United States.
All right, I got to leave it there. Minister, good luck on the trade mission. International Trade Minister Mary Ng off to Washington tomorrow. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Evan.